Welcome Fireside friends. Before we get into tonight's chilling tale, I want to remind you how much your support means to this channel. If you enjoy the eerie and mysterious stories we uncover, please take a moment to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and share our videos. It truly helps me keep the fireside burning. Now grab a warm drink, settle in, and let the crackling of the fire guide you through the unsettling mystery of the Yuba County Five. This story contains some graphic and eerie content, so if you're sensitive to unsettling details, this may be a good time to check out another one of our stories. Now with that said, tonight we dive deep into the perplexing case of the Yuba County Five, a mystery that has haunted Northern California since 1978. This is one of those cases that only leaves more questions than answers. Was it an accident, foul play, or something even stranger? Let's embark on this chilling journey and uncover the baffling story of the Yuba County Five. Jack Madruga. Jack was a 30-year-old war veteran and the proud owner of the car in which the group traveled that night. Described as fiercely independent, he wasn't known to leave his belongings or his car behind. Jack had never been diagnosed with any intellectual disabilities, but he was considered to be somewhat slow in certain situations. Jack's passion was driving, and he was the type of person who enjoyed taking long drives with a sense of freedom and control. The story begins with 5 men from Yuba County, California. These were no ordinary men. They were all friends, each with their own unique personality traits and challenges, bonded by their shared love of basketball. These young men were part of a local program for the mentally disabled, but it's important to note that each of them was fully functional in society. They led normal, happy lives. However, that happiness would soon be cut short in the most mysterious of circumstances. Mathias. Arguably the most mysterious of the group, Mathias, 25, was an Army veteran with a complicated history. He suffered from schizophrenia, though it was reportedly under control with medication. Mathias had been discharged from the Army after experiencing mental health issues. Despite his condition, he was functioning well and had managed to maintain a steady routine. Of all the men, Gary's background and subsequent disappearance remain the most enigmatic, and many theories center around him. To understand this mystery, we'll need to take a closer look at the personal lives of each of these 5 men, the strange details surrounding their disappearance, and the unsettling discoveries that followed. Buckle up for a deeply detailed exploration into the Yuba County Five, where questions still outnumber answers. Let's start by getting to know each of the 5 men, as understanding their personalities, mental conditions, and the dynamics between them is key to unraveling the complexities of this case. Ted Weiher. Ted, 32 years old, was a large man, known for his outgoing personality and affectionate nature. Standing over 6 feet tall, he was seen as the protector of the group. Despite being intellectually disabled, Ted was well loved by his family and friends. His disappearance, and the conditions in which his body was found months later, are some of the most tragic and chilling aspects of this case. Bill Sterling. Bill, 29, was described as deeply religious, kind, and gentle. He spent much of his free time volunteering at a local hospital, helping to minister to patients. Like the other men, Bill had mild intellectual disabilities and was very close to his family. His disappearance devastated his loved ones, and the manner in which his body was discovered left lingering questions. Jack Huett. Jack, 24, was the youngest of the group. Shy and quiet, Jack was extremely close to his mother and relied on her for guidance. He had the most severe intellectual disabilities of the group but was known for his sweet demeanor. Jack's body was also found in tragic and baffling circumstances, leading investigators to question what happened in the final days of his life. Together, these 5 friends formed an inseparable group, united by their passion for life, sports, and each other. It was a cool winter night in Northern California, February 24, 1978. The Yuba County Five had made plans to attend a basketball game in the nearby town of Chico. It was an exciting night for them, as they had a big game of their own scheduled the next day with the Special Olympics basketball team. The group piled into Jack Madruga's beloved Mercury Montego, eager for a fun night out. They left their homes in Marysville, expecting a quick round trip to Chico and back. However, they never returned home that night. What seemed like a simple night out would soon become one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in California's history. When the men failed to return home, their families were immediately worried. Days turned into weeks and there was no sign of them. On February 28th, a breakthrough occurred. Madruga's car, the Mercury Montego, was found abandoned on a remote mountain road near Oroville, California, far off their intended route home from Chico. The discovery raised more questions than answers. The car was stuck in a snowdrift, yet it was still in perfect working condition. Strangely, the gas tank was a quarter full and the keys were missing, but investigators quickly realized the car could easily have been restarted without them. Even more bizarre was the fact that Jack Madruga, being fiercely protective of his car, would have never allowed anyone to drive it off-road, and certainly not into the snow-covered wilderness. Adding to the confusion, no attempt had been made to restart the car, despite the fact that the men could have simply shifted into reverse and driven it out of the snow. The group had left the car and wandered into the wilderness, but why? They were not dressed for the freezing cold weather and were completely unprepared for survival in such harsh conditions. Early theories about the men's disappearance focused on the weather. On the night they vanished, a snowstorm had hit the area, and some investigators speculated that the men became disoriented by the weather, causing them to abandon the car and attempt to seek help. However, the snowstorm alone doesn't explain why they left the warmth and protection of the car, especially considering their limited survival knowledge. This theory became even less plausible when investigators discovered that the men had not attempted any survival tactics. There was no evidence of anyone trying to use the car's heater, no signs of them attempting to build a fire, and no footprints leading from the car that would indicate a panicked attempt to get back to civilization. One of the first breakthroughs came from a local man named Joseph Shones. On the night of the disappearance, Shones had become stranded on the same mountain road where the car was later found. He reported hearing voices and seeing a group of men, along with a woman and a baby, near the car around the time the Yuba County Five went missing. However, when Shones tried to call for help, the figures seemed to ignore him and soon disappeared into the night. Shones' testimony only deepened the mystery. Who was the woman and the baby? Were they connected to the group in some way, or had Shones simply imagined the sighting in his delirium from hypothermia? Regardless, this sighting added an eerie layer to the already strange case, suggesting that perhaps the men had encountered someone else on the mountain. It wasn't until June 4, 1978, 4 months after their disappearance, that the first bodies were discovered. A group of motorcyclists found a U.S. Forest Service trailer, roughly 20 miles from where the Mercury Montego had been abandoned. Inside they found the decomposing body of Ted Weiher. Wrapped in several layers of blankets, Ted's emaciated body indicated that he had survived for weeks, perhaps even months, before finally succumbing to starvation and hypothermia. But the most baffling part of this discovery was that the trailer was stocked with supplies that could have helped him survive. There were canned foods, matches, and even heavy clothing, yet only some of the food had been consumed. Why didn't Ted use more of the available supplies? Was he too weak to help himself, or was there something else at play? Adding to the confusion was the fact that Ted's feet were frostbitten, yet there were warm sleeping bags in the trailer. His beard had grown significantly, suggesting he had been alive for an extended period, but he had failed to make use of the resources around him. Not far from the trailer, the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found, lying side by side in the snow, just miles away from the trailer. Both had succumbed to exposure, but the positioning of their bodies suggested they had been attempting to return to the car. What happened that caused them to abandon their trek and collapse in the snow remains a mystery. Another body was found near a stream, later identified as Jack Huett. His remains were scattered over a wide area, suggesting that animals had gotten to him after he had died. Still, this discovery only added to the enigma of why the men had wandered so far into the wilderness in the first place. Of all the men, Mathias remains the most mysterious. Unlike the others, his body was never found. His shoes, however, were discovered in the trailer, leading some to believe that Gary may have left the trailer on foot in a desperate bid for help. Others suggest that Mathias, due to his schizophrenia, may have experienced a psychotic episode that led him to leave the group and disappear into the wilderness. Mathias' disappearance has fueled many theories. Did he simply wander off and succumb to the elements, or is it possible that he encountered someone or something that led to his death? The lack of any physical evidence related to Mathias only makes the case more baffling. Adding to the puzzle was the testimony of a local forest ranger, who claimed that it would have been nearly impossible for the men to reach the trailer without snowshoes or proper equipment. This led some to believe that the men may have been led to the trailer by someone else, someone who knew the area and may have had sinister intentions. The case of the Yuba County Five remains unsolved to this day, and there are several prevailing theories. Some believe the group was simply lost and disoriented, overwhelmed by the harsh weather conditions. Others speculate that they were followed or encountered foul play in the remote wilderness. Gary Mathias' history of schizophrenia has led some to suggest that his mental health may have played a role in the events that unfolded that night. Yet the mystery deepens when we consider that no definitive motive or explanation has ever been found. Why did the men leave the safety of their car? Why did they not consume the supplies in the trailer? And what happened to Gary Mathias? This chilling case continues to baffle investigators, and to this day, the true story of what happened to the Yuba County Five remains hidden deep within the Sierra Nevada mountains. As we close the chapter on this haunting tale, we're left with more questions than answers, and the eerie possibility that we may never truly know what happened on that fateful February night. If you're intrigued by stories like this and want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when our next mystery unfolds. Also, share your theories in the comments. Do you think it was foul play, a tragic accident, or something else entirely? Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep the fire burning.